All right, here we go, gentlemen. Prompt number 1. All HC football defense.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, I think I could go there.
Now, Coach Peña, you're going to have to help us with the back in the day stuff. I tell you what, Mike, I got 3 linebackers for sure. One of them, Paul Henry Latta, no question. And I can't pick Nick or Timmy, so I'll say Nick Tim at the outside linebacker position. Yeah, those are my 2 guys. You still got 9 spots. Help yourself. Coach, who back in the day was the guy that nobody wanted to get hit by?
We had a boy that went both ways. His name was John Vollmer. He was our running back and played safety. At one time, he hit a kid from Alamo Heights who played their JP in a varsity game. He hit him so hard, both shoes came off the running back. And the boom was so loud, it sounded like a shotgun going off. And I'll tell you what, from that day on, nobody wanted to line up with John Vollmer. We had another little bitty guy. Who would believe that he would become a priest later on? But Richard Peña, could bring it. And there was no doubt in my mind and among our team that he had to be pound for pound one of our best tacklers and had guts. And in the 1960s, we had some pretty good kids. And I would say that Hector Rivera was the 70s joke, yeah. Chicho could play. Yeah, in fact, he went on scholarship to Southwest State.
He played for White.
Yeah, and I one time went to San Marcos to take a prospect, and he came up to say hello to me, and I was shocked that he was playing for him, and of course he had gotten a much bigger kid. But
we were on the sideline. We were on the sideline when we saw Chicho play, and we're on the team, right? We're on the sideline. I'm watching. And it seemed that when they'd snap the ball, Chicho would always go to the right hole, man. He'd fill it, he'd hit it. I just remember thinking at the time as a player, how does he know like so quickly? Well, now that we coach, he'd see that first step or that first move or the left. But all I remember about as a player watching Chicho was, golly, man, just snap, boom, he was already in the hole. I was like, how did he know?
Yeah, he was going to make a mistake of going 100 miles. And he'll hit anybody. He didn't care who was in the way. He was going to hit something. Michael, you coached some pretty good ones on defense.
Yeah, I've had a few. For me, it starts with Hassan. It starts with Hassan Ali because that kid played free safety, and it got to a point we were always a 3-4 cover 2 team. But when we got him as a safety, we wanted to get more people in the box, and he played with so much range and so much ability in the middle of the field. I remember him knocking the kid from Lytle out.
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing that struck me, the one thing that really hit me about that night was he comes up and, he hits the kid, he takes him to the ground. It's a really physical hit. And the kid's laying there, and Hassan gets up. And here come trainers and everybody. And I go out there, and Hassan's upset. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He says, I'm afraid I killed him. And he was literally scared that he killed him. And I remember the kid, eyes rolled back in his head, blood trickling out of his ears. And I was like, oh, Lord, he may have killed him, But he was so talented, so good. Probably one of them, the 2 linebackers I remember for me that just kind of like stand out. Actually 3, probably the Centeno kid, Josh. He was such a technician. He really understood how to read, how to attack the hole. Very intelligent, kind of a game plan, coach's type kid. Manny Hurtado, jeez.
Man, just mean, man.
That kid, we have an all-district meeting. In this room, we have an all-district meeting. And we had ordered Rudy's barbecue. And we had the boys serving the coaches. And Manny comes in and sets the plate of brisket down and walks out the door. And they go, is that your junior high kids? And I said, that's number 12. That's the Hurtado kid. And they're like,
no way.
No way. And I said, that's him. And then the other kid, obviously, my first year here was Roland Rojas. I remember the story you told me about him in the locker.
Yeah.
Kid would open his locker, check everything, shut it, lock it again, unlock it. And
close it 3 times. I had a class right across from the kid. I'm like, what is he doing? I said, well, she's plays linebacker for Mike. That makes perfect sense.
and he was so talented. But one kid that really, like, DBs, oh goodness, Libby. John Libby was really talented. Went on and played at OPSU. The thing about John is he was really technically sound, really solid. At D-line, I remember Nick Neff. He stood out to me at nose guard. Wasn't very big. I think Nick weighed probably 195, 200 pounds, but could run like a linebacker.
Well, not to override you, but John Ferrara, the legendary coach, he of the clipboard slinging abilities. We're at an all-district meeting, and we're going to play these guys eventually for the state championship. They whooped our tail in district, and we knew that whoever was going to win, we were going to have to face each other again. And Coach Ferrara says, damn, my center's getting these guys. Yeah, he keeps dreaming about your damn nose guard. Like he's telling me just a football player. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. God damn, he said, Coach, that guy's good. I don't know I can block that guy. So Roger Gonzalez of the Gonzalez boys.
That's 3 of them. You might as well throw Tony in there too.
Tony G, man.
The gauge is always when you go to an all-district meeting and every other coach in the district's just talking about your kid.
Yeah.
And that's what all those Gonzalez boys. You walk
Gonzalez
in
boys were
and they pencil them in and guard. Let's just
Gonzalez
get
boys
everybody on us, vote on the rest.
I got to coach a young man and ended up playing at Texas A&I. Danny Gutierrez, we just knew him as Good. And Danny, he and his brother, great Holy Cross football players, but Danny had that special talent. He had height, and he would go both ways. Never complained. We would put him on the line. We stood him up in linebacker, and I'll never forget. It was my first year at Holy Cross. It was a senior year at Texas A&I, and they won the national championship. And he is voted the player of the game, the defensive player of the game. And then later on was given the title the comeback player of the year for Lone Star Conference. Dan Gutierrez from Holy Cross, he put us on the map and really showed that we had some tough kids here.
And I don't know anything about the guys from that era, but I remember when Tony Garza taught math here, he talked about the Arredondos, and he was talking about the guy's my dentist. He just retired.
Yeah, Daniel.
He talked about how he played with such passion. It's just so crazy about the way he played. I think there's just a long lineage, a long history, of kids that have done so much. We only graduated Kalijah a year ago, but he's at A&M Kingsville, now A&I. And there's so many kids that have been so successful. Sure.
And they're all cut out of the same mold. Billy Pytel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, mother of goodness gracious. Billy was a man's man, and this guy was just him and Chris Tobar. Oh my gosh, Chris Tobar played nose guard for us, and they were, if you are a nose guard, you got to take care of both A gaps. Right. You cannot cry and complain. You're going to get double teamed every time if you're the real deal. But what I remember most about Billy is, you remember John Moraida? Big John. So they went to go watch, our rivals at a football game. They're playing somebody other. They're just scouting the game. Well, a freaking tempest blows through, man, and the skies open up, and everybody hauls tail to their trucks. And what I remember most about Billy, Don's telling the story. He says, so we jump in our trucks, and Coach Billy sees a dude in a wheelchair, and he's getting all wet and stuff. And he's in my truck, Coach. So Billy says, hey, whose umbrella is this? So it's my mom's. Oh, I'll get her another way. Billy dragged the umbrella, ran out, and gave it to the homeless kid. To the lady, and said, and he ran back. And Billy wanted, hey. And well, Coach, I don't think he's going to give my mom another umbrella. I said, John, won't be good. But again, Billy was a good football. Billy was a good kid.
Brandon Segura.
Oh my God,
Brandon Segura was 5'7" or 8". He was 135 pounds. He was a linebacker, I guess. And I'd come watch a game, and at some point in his career, he had a trick shoulder. And so 3 or 4 times in the game, man, he'd drop his shoulder and he'd jog off. He'd lean up against a player. He'd just pop it back in and then run back in. And did that 4 or 5 times a game.
That's
Crazy.
man.
That's crazy.
Well, this kid goes to Texas A&M, and I don't know. Again, I might be screwing this up, but in your squad, if you're in their RO program, whatever it is, the guy who carries the flag for their group has to go through all kinds of outlandish physical whatever. Well, Brandy carried the damn flag for.
Kid was in the Corps.
Yes, he carried the flag for his group. But Brandon was just he was just a real freaking deal, man. Brandy was a bad boy. That's a great one. I hadn't thought of. And I'm sure we're leaving people out.
So many.
And they'll come
So
back.
many.
We
DBs that stand out to me. I remember Little Mayo.
Oh,
my
you
God.
cannot go away. You got to talk about
Oh, my
Mayo.
God.
You got to talk about
I
Mayo.
got I think the Miles story.
The Mayo
It is
story.
the Mayo
It is
story.
the story.
We were at a track meet.
No, this is we got another.
We're at
Not
a
of
track
Mayo
meet.
stories.
We're at a track meet the year after we beat Central Catholic in one of our games, right? And we're sitting there talking, and Central is just winning every track, sprint, hurdle event there is.
Right.
And we all know that track teams and football teams kind of match up. And so as coaches, we're sitting there talking, and we say something like, how in the world did we beat these guys?
Yeah.
And Miles just standing there in his class, and he's just standing there, and we're all trying to talk, and he gets our attention. He goes, "Coach." He goes, "We can't hit him in track." And we looked at each other like, that's it.
No.
Mike, tell the
The-
story. I'll help.
The Mayo story of all time.